Introduction. A well-informed list of all the profound scientific developments of the present century will surely include the concepts of quantum physics and general relativity in particular. The Big Bang cosmology is inevitable too. Unraveling the mysteries around the generic codes in the humans or even in the other species is one other area of sensational research today as well. Whereas these researchers here is enough support that opens in from the quantum physics. Ideas of reality were reshaped by the scientists in the recent past, with more findings fuming in the field of quantum physics recently. Rethinking the nature of things at the deepest level possible, the quantum physics conceptualization at elementary level becomes the inevitable need. Position and speed concepts are pivotal to understand further. It is essential to know about the cause and the effects of speed and position. If anyone is interested in knowing more and more about the concepts, then anyone got to be learning the basics first of all. The abstract atomic world and the Dulong-Petit law. Thermal conductivity and the concept of electrical conductivity are essential to unfold many other facts to shed more light in the field of quantum physics in the successive years. Atomic structure and the periodic table. It is the revolutionary finding of the humans since time memorial. It is not the easy task, as there are additions being made to the table even today. Quantum physics has two entities. It is the theory of matter, as it is explained at the atomic level. Then it is the quantum mechanics. Origin of quantum mechanics, PPT, is the right option to see and observe the facts, first of all, more than anything else is. Development of quantum mechanics PDF throws more light on the essentials, and the applications can be understood better when anyone are thorough with these lessons. Who found the missing mass of the atom's nucleus? Get the answer to know more and more fascinating information and start to work on the research materials as well. The father of quantum mechanics gave us a whole lot of useful findings. Who discovered the quantum mechanical model? Basically, the quantum mechanical model is the pivotal tool based on what anyone are supposed to design a lot of new inventions and find so many fine aspects about the space as well. The quantum physics is one subject that is sure to trigger the interests of the learner by and large. Basically, this keenness is supposed to exist only for short periods of time when anyone are no more in a better position to understand the concepts to full extent. Logically, there are so many mysterious findings that remains unsolved so far by the researchers, and surely it is so easy for anyone to get baffled out sooner or later, even after learning to be a postgraduate in the subject. There are doctoral fellows and research scientists who have gone only to a certain extent in the research studies of their own particular kind, just because of this fact that the concepts are tough to understand for the layman. Perspective changes when anyone is involving in the learning process. Initially, anyone might have assumed things to be totally different, and later anyone may find things to be totally different from what anyone have studied and observed in reality. New finding on your way can only make anyone get frustrated about the fact that the subject is tedious enough to understand completely. Otherwise, anyone could have studied our own universe to the best extent possible so far. With centuries of research being done on the topic of space and time, there are not any significant improvements that are coming in just because of this fact in particular. Who discovered electron charge and how they determined the charge to be negative? There are experiments conducted to identify the real charges of the protons and the electrons, as well as the neutrally charged neutrons. These are identified as the basic elementary particles of matter, and the charges are also identified by James Chadwick in the early years of 19th century. The best part about the findings is that very many opportunities cropped up only by then to get to know more and more about the waves and the particle matter contained in these waves. That led to the invention of new machines like the oscilloscope, television sets, and so on. Chapter 1. David Tong Quantum Field Theory. While there are so many conceptions about the theory, logical derivations conclude the worthwhile theory as discrete something from the rest of the other assumptions. Quantum field theory lectures and the introduction to quantum field theory by the experts today can make one believe in various assumptions too. Yet, what is the fact, and how to study the concepts in an organized manner to get a structured learning of the concepts is what that matters the most. At the end of the day, the quantum field theory for dummies that are presented online in some of the dedicated platforms must be reliable and trustworthy enough to come up with jarring but also suitable interpretations and illustrations to make the students understand things with clarity. String theory simplified. If there are pros who can explain the theory in diversified ways, then there are some valid theories like the string theory that comes up with illustrations too. Logical interpretations made here can make one get clarity about the vital concepts. There is the correlation between quantum physics and spirituality too. When anyone is learning it through the helium absorption spectrum, then anyone can understand the elementary sounds in the cosmos that are already known to the spiritual leaders. The surprising fact is that they have not travelled to space, or they didn't get the chance to listen from the ancestors about what is happening in the cosmos. They cannot hear what is there in the space either. In such circumstances, how they are able to figure out the scent in the space to a certain extent. It is not something that anyone got to appreciate about the spiritual leaders. If that is the case, then what is the correlation that exists between the spiritual leaders and the space scientists? Both are dedicating their life towards finding something special, yet their routes are different. Their path is discrete. When the scientists can deduce, formulate based on logical evidence and the corollaries of theorems and formulae, there are possibilities to attain such heights of glory, though the vision from deep within too. It is through sensation power of the spiritual minds. It means there is something really more than what anyone could expect out of the brains that anyone has today. There are so many things that are not completely known about the silver state of mind. If that is all possible in reality, then there are so many things that are achievable. There are so many things that are predictable so easily in life about the future outcomes too. If this is all true, the scientist who is trying to figure out things through quantum physics and calculations are just in the embryonic stage, or than anything else to go a long way to learn more about the cosmos. The combined endeavours of the spiritual leaders and the quantum mechanics pros can work wonders in the form of finding some stupendous outcomes in the short span of time. So neither the roles in the static level nor the spiritual leaders must have a hostile opinion of underestimating one another. There must be a right balance between the two groups, as there is evidence to prove appointing both cases as reliable resources and potential possible resources too. It is imperative for a pro to make sure that he or she is having full trust on whatever he does as research and spiritual belief to understand the concepts better. Having said that, there are scientists like Einstein who had great belief all throughout his lifetime about spirituality. For a pro of his caliber, with so high standards of IQ, if he believes in spirituality, then that must really make good sense for the others to follow his footsteps too. The emission spectrum of neon is a classical example here that can be correlated with the horoscope formation in men and women just after their birth. Take the neon spectrum into account first of all. The emission spectrum of Mercury as well as the argon emission spectrum must be noted first of Althea argon spectrum shows anyone the spectral composition of sunlight. Based on that, anyone can deduce so many assumptions with clarity, and that is what is being done by the pundits when they are going to write the horoscope. The helium emission spectrum is the best example. Which emission line in the hydrogen spectrum occurs at the highest frequency? Find out that. The hydrogen spectrum PDF will get anyone the hydrogen spectrum explanation. Quantum mechanics operators list. When anyone knows how to define hermetical operator and the real operators in quantum mechanics PDF, then anyone are a pro in the field. Usually, the doctoral fellows are offered to trail in this field to do this for 5 years or even more than that with the idea that they will come up with something or the other. Yet there were not too many candidates that come up with striking outcomes. There are not too many youngsters who have the patience to dedicate their own life for the findings and inventions of the modern kind related to this subject in particular, for the simple reason that there are term duos amounts of dedication and time needed to understand the momentum operator. To understand the momentum operator in quantum mechanics, or even just the operators in quantum mechanics examples. Consider, for example, the unitary transformation quantum mechanics or the ear operators in quantum mechanics PDF. It is the cumbersome process to come up stronger in this field. Linear operator definition is by itself complex to understand for the beginner. The illustration is essential for anyone to make the most out of the quantum mechanics operators list. Define hermetical operator or the linear operators for quantum mechanics. If the hermetical operator quantum mechanics is understandable, then the momentum operator in quantum mechanics is solvable too. There is the quantum theory for dummies to understand the fact on what is the quantum theory. Get the quantum theory explained by the geeks out there before anyone begins. The quantum physics simple explanation will make one understand about what is quanta. Then come in the quantum theory model and the lessons for the quantum physics for beginners. Then anyone learns about the quantum theory of light. Then enter into the quantum cosmology PDF. This is where anyone gets the keen curiosity to learn more and more on your own. This is where the real tests begin, with the lab experiments on for several years together, no matter how knowledgeable anyone are or the beginner anyone in the field is. Anyone is sure to focus better when anyone is going to learn some strange facts about the cosmos eventually. Chapter 2. Quantum Cosmology, Stephen Hawking. Certainly, there are not enough findings so far about the universe, even by the brilliant men and women of the earth so far. This is obvious fact, but yet there are some theories based on logical conclusions made by the pros and the pioneers in the field since time immemorial. Right from Socrates to the latest Stephen Hawking, everyone had their own ideas about the universe. Of course, one's lifetime that is short in the world is not ideally enough to know about the universe fully. That is the biggest limitation that anyone faces all until now, to not be able to arrive at the best of the conclusion about the dark matter and huge dark energy which comprises of most part of a huge universe that is expanding at alarming rates every moment. Quantum cosmology can be one of the fundamental descriptions of the universe. Same is the case with many other principles that are either theorized or logically proven with evidence but fail to give substantial facts about the dark energy and huge dark matter of the universe all until now. Quantum cosmology definition is not sufficient. There are quantum cosmology resource materials, like the quantum cosmology for dummies and some other options like quantum mechanics and cosmology that do define quantum cosmology. Anyone cannot make out from all these on what are quantum cosmology to the wholesome meaning. Yet quantum cosmology, Stephen Hawking principles are found to be logical and have some serious message to the physicists of the modern times. Even though the scientist is not well equipped physically or by any other means, his findings make sense and show us some of the controversies in the findings so far. Assumptions so far were challenged by this geek in all these years. The best example to prove a point here would just be his ideas about the black holes of the universe. There are not too many black holes in the vicinity, though. One is there in the Milky Way galaxy of our own. Yet there are millions of such black holes in so many galaxies that are far and wide. If anyone is not able to see the limitations well, then anyone is not complete in your report as well. Quantum Cosmology PDF is just a hint. The quantum cosmology definition is just giving anyone an idea about the quantum cosmology. A fundamental description of the universe is not clear all till now. There is not ample information on the quantum cosmology for dummies. It is tough to learn it all from the quantum cosmology resource materials or from very defined quantum cosmology. Let it be the scattering theory in quantum mechanics or the classical scattering theory. One can understand that better only from the authentic scattering theory in quantum mechanics lecture notes. Scattering cross-section in quantum mechanics. One of the classical examples in the subject of quantum mechanics to prove a point that there are enough evidences for the existence of the dark energy and the dark matter in the universe that are not known to the world of ours is the classical scattering cross-section. The revolutionary finding from the scattering theory in quantum mechanics spot and the scattering theory lecture notes understood by any learner will make it easier for them to learn more about the scattering physics with keen interests. The classical scattering cross-section and the scattering theory in quantum mechanics go hand in hand. The differential scattering cross-section explains it further. Scattering cross-section in quantum mechanics is a valid avenue to open up more and more ideas about the decaying principle of the black holes over time. Again, the concept of time and space there is totally irrelevant to what anyone knows about those concepts from planet Earth match makes it difficult to understand or find more about the same concepts. Scattering theory in quantum mechanics lecture notes can help only the students. The hard-sphere scattering is one classical example to prove a point. The Born approximation scattering amplitude is explained well in the scattering theory lecture notes. Use the Juju Samurai Quantum Mechanics Solution Manual PDF to learn more about the concepts, and there is also the Samurai Modern Quantum Mechanics 2nd Edition Solutions PDF. If anyone are not satisfied with both the options, then anyone can go by the Solution Manual for Modern Quantum Mechanics 2nd Edition by Samurai. The best part about the Samurai Solutions Chapter 5 and the Samurai Quantum Mechanics Solutions Chapter 3 is that anyone can learn the proportionate values from the Juju Samurai Modern Quantum Mechanics Solutions PDF. Let it be the Samurai 1.22 solutions or let it be the Samurai 2.9 solutions, anyone makes the most out of the Modern Quantum Mechanics Samurai 2nd Edition solutions. So learn from the models of the Samurai Modern Quantum Mechanics PDF. It is not necessary to memorize the definitions just for the sake of gaining some marks. It is essential that anyone is going to understand the Solution Manual for Modern Quantum Mechanics 2nd Edition by Samurai. When anyone are able to make the most out of the Samurai Modern Quantum Mechanics 2nd Edition Solutions PDF, then comes in the Samurai Solutions Chapter 5 for anyone to know, observe and study the Samurai 2.9 solutions better. Orbital angular momentum formula. Most of the novae in the learning will worry about the orbital angular moment quantum number as they have only superficial knowledge from the orbital angular momentum PDF about the orbital angular momentum operator. There are changes to add to the orbital angular momentum of an electron in the 2s orbital. It makes sense to know about the orbital angular momentum of light and understand the orbital angular momentum definition well to know about the orbital angular momentum of planets. If anyone are curious to know more about these facts, then learn more about the angular momentum of a planet in elliptical orbit. There is the angular momentum of Earth about its axis. There is also angular momentum of the satellite in elliptical orbit. If all these facts can prove a point that it is linear momentum conserved in an elliptical orbit as per the angular momentum formula, then which letter represents the perihelion point of a planetary orbit? Get the answers in terms of angular momentum units. See the best conservation of angular momentum examples. There are so many concepts that are related to the angular momentum of the satellite in elliptical orbit. Is linear momentum conserved in an elliptical orbit? Yes, it is, but there are limitations too. The angular momentum of planets in orbit is purely based on the kinetic energy. The angular momentum of a satellite in circular orbit is always dependent on the kinetic energy in elliptical orbit. That determines the velocity in the elliptical orbit. The angular momentum of an orbit that is reliant on the kinetic energy and its velocity determined by the Ke are deduced using her formulae. The angular momentum of a planet in elliptical orbit can be deduced using the formula. Anyone can guess the doomed day. Is linear momentum conserved in an elliptical orbit, and what about the angular momentum of the satellite in elliptical orbit? Beginners cannot answer about the angular momentum of Earth about its axis questions. There is angular momentum formula in the respective angular momentum units to learn by the conservation of angular momentum examples. Stick to the law of conservation of angular momentum. When anyone uses the right formula for the angular momentum of the satellite in elliptical orbit, then anyone are sure to understand the elliptical orbit conservation of energy too. There are so many related facts that are also understood well, only based on the right answers derived in that way. Chapter 3. Difference between general relativity and quantum mechanics. There is a lot of difference between the two, and that can be understood if anyone is mastering the basic quantum gravity for dummies. Yet there is a long way to go for one to learn the general relativity quantum mechanics contradiction based on the quantum gravity equation. When it is easy to understand, there are contradicting questions that may arise too. The quantum gravity PDF is not something certain, and so are the quantum gravity resource materials as well. The quantum gravity research is not limited to the third harmonic oscillator's spherical coordinates. It is easy to start from the 3D isotropic harmonic oscillator to learn more about the 3D harmonic oscillator angular momentum. Start from the 1D harmonic oscillator if anyone is a novice in the business. 2D harmonic oscillator degeneracy. Striking aspect here is the Stark effect hydrogen. When there are so many explanations given by different pros in the field, the Stark effect Hamiltonian makes the most sense. The Stark effect in spectroscopy has led to some massive number of findings. Anyone can understand that from the Stark effect part as well as the Stark effect PDF. The striking elements are the Stark effect in atomic physics that is offspring of the Stark effect experiment. That is why anyone sees the Stark effect applications to be too many today in the practical industrial arena. Who-invited quantum theory is one of the most important questions that are asked in the one-word questionnaire to make sure that the young guns are well aware of the leaders and the pioneers in the field of quantum theory. History of Quantum Mechanics PDF is pretty important for the same reasons as well. When anyone are sure about the right concepts and the related practical applications in the real-life situation, then anyone can deploy various ideas of your own into the new industrial applications and the space science too. The medical field is also the important avenue where the special findings of the latest kind are found to be revolutionary. There are finding new forms of diagnosis. There are finding new machines to diagnose the tumours better. There are so many ways of zeroing in the problem better using the latest technologies rather than how anyone does it conventionally. So naturally, all these inputs from the right pros are well wanted for the society in the long-term basis. History of Quantum Mechanics resource material has the primordial information of the pivotal kind. The Origin of Quantum Mechanics PDF shows anyone everything related to that, and the Origin of Quantum Mechanics spot in addition is a valuable tool for training the young guns. The Development of Quantum Mechanics PDF is prepared initially in a raw format by the father of quantum mechanics. As per the current needs and wants, the PDF is changed to make sure that the layman can understand things better in the present times about the intricate aspects of quantum theory. There are questions to ask and there are questions to answer as well. When anyone answers for the one, anyone gets questions in multiplies, and that is a natural curiosity that might drive one to go so. Who hypothesized that the atom is mostly space? If anyone is learning all these essentials, then your mind opens up when anyone are learning the experiment thoroughly in a step-by-step process. What he did first and how he or she improvised the idea over the years is all something that anyone needs to correlate with you as a researcher. That is the real application that can bring the scientist in anyone too. Who worked with the quantum theory is something that is found in most of the articles out there, but asks who believe the atoms of a given element are identical. When anyone asks questions like whom did the gold foil experiment and how successful they are in the attempt, then the real clairvoyance begins there. Dalton's atomic model is the best example for this. It took years for him to come up with this significance, something just like what Bohr did earlier. Yet Einstein-like scientism is reversing the pros of this caliber for their wonderful ideas about the quantum mechanics even before so many years of advanced technology. This is something sensationally outstanding knowledge by those pros of the yesteryears. Thomson atomic theory is equally important as that of the Juju-Thomson atomic theory as well. learn those attempts and get an idea to establish your own opinions or findings in the field sooner or later. Physics can be best understood if anyone can understand the operational principles of the television sets completely. If not, then anyone needs to learn things right from the basics. Who discovered quantum mechanics? If anyone got to know more and more about the history of quantum mechanics PDF, then anyone must find the basic facts, like who invented quantum theory from the History of Quantum Mechanics book. That can lead anyone to know well on who found the missing mass of the atom's nucleus. It is where anyone can understand the quantum mechanical model of the atom. The quantum mechanical model date and the facts related to who invented the nuclear model, as well as a brief introduction to quantum mechanics by David Griffiths, are all essentials to grasp the ideas of the principles of quantum mechanics. The best route is to shortlist the best observations from the Quantum Physics Resource Materials for Beginners PDF through the Quantum Physics Resource Materials PDF free download. If anyone is aware of the quantum, Einstein, Bohr, and the great debate about the nature of reality, then anyone are sure to understand the best resource material on quantum mechanics for laymen. Learn about the quantum mechanics, the theoretical minimum, and the direct principles of quantum mechanics ebook. The best part about the Principles of Quantum Mechanics 4th edition is that there are enough facts to establish the point up to where anyone can successfully learn without guidance, and the lectures on quantum mechanics direct are good enough. Direct Principles of Quantum Mechanics 1st edition are self-explanatory. The Feynman Lectures on Physics Volume 1 PDF have the vital facts to learn the basic principles of quantum mechanics. Use the ideas behind the lectures on quantum mechanics and relativistic field theory from the Direct Principles of Quantum Mechanics ebook. Then the Principles of Quantum Mechanics edition will be easier to understand for anyone to make the most out of the lectures on quantum mechanics direct. See what is special in the Direct Principles of Quantum Mechanics, the 1st edition, that contains the Feynman Lectures on Physics Volume 2 PDF. The basic principles of quantum mechanics are essential to learning and master. Use the lectures of quantum field theory direct and get clarifications to understand vital facts from the lectures on quantum mechanics and relativistic field theory PDF. It means the formulae that anyone is using even today can be deviating from the originality. That means anyone is totally marching in the assumed directions, which may deviate slightly from the reality. Small errors in the calculations that anyone have done so far can contribute to massive differences, as the universe as well as the cosmic bodies are magnanimous. Small errors can lead to colossal errors. Observations that are done so far may be going entirely wrong after certain layers in the comps. The theory about the black holes can be entirely wrong. The assumptions about the dark energy can be utterly foolish. Yet none of the researchers so far were able to get a strong evidence and proof to show that their claims must be beloved and trusted for future analysis. They did not have the best of the knowledge at that point in time, but today anyone does have brightest of the technologies to do what anyone wants. There are possibilities to travel beyond the planet Earth. They are enough observant that were made in the avert years of Pythagoras. It means our united efforts as human beings can only help us in the future years to understand cosmic aspects better. It was the work of Galileo or Newton or Einstein that is regarded as the best so far in all these years. Conclusion. Photonic revolutions allow the world to bring the age of information today. If not the quantum mechanics tools, then there is no possibility to reach these heights today in even the other related fields of biology and chemistry. The findings of quantum mechanics did not spring up overnight. It took years together to find new concepts. Max Planck, quantum theory, and its 100 years of accomplishments today are unbelievable feats achieved by the humans in the social setup.